So I thought I'd share my DIY solar-powered fountain slash bird bath slash water feature. There's an Amazon affiliate link to all these solar-powered fountain hardware as well as chapters so you can bounce around. One of the first things you'll need to source is something for the water to come out of. We decided to go to a local landscape supply place and find this rock we paid $3 for. And since I'm going with stone, I'll need a hammer drill and some masonry drill bits. I wanted to go right on the top of the stone where it peaks, so I needed to use a smaller bit just to get the hole started. Sometimes you need to drill off to the side a little bit just to get that hole going, and then once you get it started where you want it, you can put the drill vertical again and start drilling the hole. Now I need to get a hole drilled that will fit the water tubing that the kit came with. So I'm looking for a bit where the head of the bit is about the size of the outside diameter of the tubing. The head of a masonry bit is a little bit larger to clear out the hole so the rest of the bit doesn't get stuck in there. I didn't have a bit that was perfect. If I had to do this all over again, I might take that hose down to the store and find one that just is the right outside diameter as the water tubing. You'll see an issue I run into where the hole's just a little bit larger than the tubing later on. If you haven't used a hammer drill before, you'll hear a tone change where that hammer starts engaging. You don't want to push too hard with a hammer drill when you're drilling masonry, because then you just defeat the hammer inside. You want to let off just a little bit and find that sweet spot where the hammer mechanism hammers that drill into the stone. Once you find that sweet spot where the drill starts moving into the stone, you see some progress being made, just hold it right there at that pressure and let it do its thing and work its way through the stone. See, it blew out some of the stone in the back, and this should have been a warning for me to not do what I'm about to do a little later on. Look, a volcano. I'm just making sure that water tubing goes all the way through the hole. And as I said, I wish the hole was a little smaller and that tubing was more of a friction fit inside there. You'll see later on I'm going to have to fill that gap around the outside. I didn't do a very good job. We'll call this section of the video, Don't Do This. I had this bright idea to drill a whole bunch of holes in the bottom since no one would see it, make it kind of like Swiss cheese and take some of the weight out of the stone. It didn't work out exactly as I'd planned, but I thought I'd show you just so you know what not to do. You can skip this whole section if you're not interested in seeing me destroy my rock and then repair it. So the smaller bits weren't working out as quickly as I wanted them to, so I pulled out a gigantic hammer drill. This is actually from Harbor Freight. I've used it for years. It's one of few Harbor Freight power tools that was a good buy. This has substantially more hammering, drilling power than my other drill. And I thought with this giant bit it would make quick work of all this stone and take out a whole bunch of material. That it did. But what's about to happen was not planned. Blew the whole top out. And for whatever reason, I just kept doing it. But I tried to be more careful. So now it was either drive across town and try to find another rock. We thought this one was just perfect, so I didn't want to do that, and I had an idea. I remembered I had some stucco color coat laying around. I thought it might match the color of this rock pretty well. So I mixed up a batch. took some paper towel and plugged the drill hole from the bottom side and started filling up the hole. Any kind of masonry product dries lighter than it is when you put it on, so I was hoping for the best. And after I caked some on there, I just started making some lines and grooves and shapes in it to make it look like a stone. And when you're working with any kind of masonry product, you can use a wet brush or a wet sponge, and you can feather your edges, make it blend into its surroundings. And after feathering the edges, I just smoothed out all my shapes I worked into it with my trowel. For our water container, we went with this tall plastic planter. Definitely want to get one without holes in the bottom since it has to hold water. And I had this idea while shopping. I found these little plastic things that go into large pots. They get wedged in a pot, so you don't have to fill a pot with dirt all the way to the bottom. Usually this thing will sit about a third of the way down, and then you're just using the top third of the pot. I found that if I turned this over, there was a little lip in this particular pot, and it made a little platform right on top. So the idea I had here was that I could just make a thin layer of rocks on top of this piece of plastic, set the stone on top of that, and I don't have a whole lot of weight in there, and I can use the whole pot for water. I'm going to use lava rocks for this. And then this plate has holes in it, so the idea is I can just reach through the rocks, lift it up if I need to get in the pot or change the water out or fix the pump. Speaking of pumps, there's an affiliate link in the description. This is the one we went with, the 1.5 watt. They also have a 3.5 and a 6.5. If you need your water to spray higher, or you want more water, or you need to pump it higher vertically to get to the stone, that's when you might want to go with a stronger pump. I just noticed this, mine doesn't have this, but this new version of it has a water sensor in it with dry run protect, so if you run out of water, it'll shut itself off. And lower on the page is a breakdown of all the different specs of the different pumps and solar panels that they offer. We went with the 1.5 watt, and we're pushing the water up about 2 feet from the bottom of the pot, so you'll see later on what that looks like. This is the solar panel only version, so it only works when the sun's out. I'll also link to the version with a battery so that you can use it in the evening when the sun goes down. And for $15, I've been really impressed with this. This is all that you get. You get a solar panel. It's really small. It comes with a mount that pivots. I found out later on that it didn't pivot enough, so I'll show you how I modified that. You don't need all the other accessories or the splitters or the fountainy things that come out of the top of the pump unless you're going for that kind of look. I just wanted the water to come out the top of my rock and flow down. It has suction cups on the bottom. They don't really do anything, at least not in this pot, so I just had the pump sitting down in the bottom of the water. Right here I'm just checking the power cord length and confirming that it goes up this post and out to the edge of the roof of our gazebo here. The solar panel mount comes with these really tiny screws, super tiny. I dropped them and lost them right in front of me a couple of times, so be careful with them. Be better to have a scratch awl and poke a little hole first to get it started. With the angle of our gazebo roof, it didn't let it pivot vertical enough for me, so I'll show you in a bit how I ground out some plastic and fixed it. My succo was drying up well, so I wanted to put a little bit of water on it, keep it hydrated while it cures, and also smooth some extra little bits out. My plan was to have the hose recessed into the hole so you don't see it, so water would just be coming out of the top of the rock like magic. Because of that larger hole than the tubing I talked about earlier, I got a bright idea that I would use hot glue to seal up that hole. Otherwise, if the tube is recessed from the top of the hole and the hole itself in the stone is bigger than the hose, then you're going to lose water right back down the hole and it's not going to shoot out the top. It didn't necessarily work out, but I'll show you later on how I even made it worse. So now I'm just getting everything filled up and I'm going to get this pump tested before I go too far and find out maybe I got a dead one. I got it all plugged in. The sun was still kind of low in the sky, so it wasn't coming out yet. So at this point, I just hoped for the best and started putting everything together. But I quickly realized that orange plastic was going to show through the rocks. So I disassembled everything, washed off the plastic, scuffed it, dried it in the sun for a little while, and then decided to paint it all black with a plastic-compatible spray paint. I did lay it out in the sun for a little while, but because I wanted instant gratification, I tried to start assembling everything while the paint was still wet. Didn't work out too well. But my rock repair was looking good. The sand and the stucco was a little heavy, so I brushed off the sand and tried to polish it up a little bit. Once the water started flowing over it, I couldn't even tell it was repaired. Then I decided to give the paint some more time in the sun. Back to that solar panel, it didn't pivot high enough for my liking. So I took the mount apart, got my Dremel out, and there's a little piece of plastic that prevents it from turning to 90 degrees, so I just cut the plastic away. And just kept working it till I could get that mount to 90 degrees. Then reinstalled it on the roof, and it was perfect. Gave it a little cleaning. Then I started the assembly process. The water hose works perfectly through that center hole. Plugged it into the pump and dropped it to the bottom of the pot. And the power cord had to be disconnected and then run up through the plate and back up to the solar panel. Now that my black paint was dry, it was time to start adding the rocks. With the black paint on that platform, this amount of rocks on top made it just disappear like it wasn't even there. Connect the solar panel. The sun was still a little low, so it wasn't providing enough electricity to get the water all the way up to the rock yet. But after some time, it started pumping. Water started coming out the top. You can modify the sound on this if you have a tall pot like this by changing the water level inside. The sound will change depending on how far the drops fall. As I mentioned, the hot glue didn't work, so I got the bright idea of using super glue, an activator, to glue the hot glue to the rock. Did not work. So if I had to do this over again, I'd probably use some kind of plumber's putty. Pull the hose out the bottom a little, shove some putty in there, and then jam the hose up inside. That would work out better. And that's what super glue and water looks like. Nasty. I had to pick all that off later on. But that's it. The sun's up now. That's about how high the water comes out, going up about 2.5 feet from the bottom of the pot with a 1.5 watt pump and solar panel. I think it's perfect for this setup. A shorter vertical lift would get you more water coming out the top, or a more powerful solar panel and pump would get you more water at this height. This is full power now. You can see drilling the hole right at the peak of this pointed rock. I've got a nice split of water down the front and the back, so I have maximum sound out of this little bit of water coming out. It was a little late in the season, so I didn't get a whole lot of bird action, but I got a bee, hummingbird, and this little guy. I just set up a motion-activated security camera on a tripod right in front of it to catch these. And this was later on. This was in the fall, late fall, early winter. Leaves had fallen off the trees. I just got lazy and didn't tear it down. This has gone through several freeze-thaw cycles already at this point, and it was still running every day, all day long. Running like a champ. As you can see, we're pretty late in the season here. For the winter, the whole system tears down pretty easy. Just take the solar panel down. I just put all these rocks in a bag, emptied and wiped out the inside of the pot. And then all of the pieces of the puzzle fit down inside of the pot. And the lid goes on top, and the whole thing goes in the shed till next summer. That's it. Thanks for watching. Hope this has inspired you to make your own water feature, fountain, bird, bath, waterer thingy. This was a fun project. I was about $35 all in, and it has been a great addition to the patio. So take care, and good luck on your projects.